本節目內容只代表個別嘉賓及主持個人意見，並不代表本台立場。
好，咁歡迎嚟到 House of Light 嘅節目啦，再一次咁我係 Shirley 啦 ，Shirley Cool， 咁係今日呢個 House of Light 嘅 host 啦，咁今日咧就好開心啦，就請到咧有一個嘉賓啦，咁呢個嘉賓咧其實我係識咗佢幾年嘅啦已經，咁而呢個嘉賓嘅工作咧佢係其實佢嘅工作就好多人熟悉嘅或者聽過嘅，咁佢做嘅嘢咧就係幫人睇塔羅牌啦。咁但係點解我會請佢嚟咧？就係因為佢喺我即係識嘅唔同嘅塔羅牌嘅嗰啲叫做即係 reader 啦，啲睇塔羅牌嘅人啦，咁佢算係個經驗都幾夠嘅，咁所以我就今日請佢嚟做我哋嘅嘉賓。咁另外咧，仲有一位咧，呢一位講翻頭先嗰個嘉賓咧，咁佢係叫 David Taylor。咁thank you very much David Taylor come to our show today。咁另外今日咧，亦都有一個啦，一位啦，就係一個好朋友嚟嘅，咁佢叫阿 Karen Chan， 咁佢係幫我哋做翻譯嘅。咁啊 Karen， 多謝你。
好，唔使客氣。
係啦，好咁我哋即係會先問下阿 David 啦。咁你其實喺呢一個做塔羅牌呢個工作裏面，其實係做咗幾耐，同埋點解會接觸到塔羅牌呢樣嘢嘅？
So the first question, David, is like, how do you get in touch with tarot card, and how long have you been in this field?
Okay, I've been working with tarot now for 23 years. I got into it in the first place because I had a major crisis in my life.
咁我其實做呢個工作都23年嘅啦。當時咧係因為生命有一啲好大嘅巨變，咁所以令到我接觸到。
And I didn't quite know where to turn to, so I sought the advice of a psychic, a tarot reader in England.
咁因為我唔好知嗰個方向點走啦，咁所以我喺英國倫敦咧，我就去揾一個靈媒去幫我睇塔羅牌啦。
She first got me interested in it because she was very accurate about where my life was and where I was going to. And I went back to see her a few days later and became more interested in the cards and the readings.
咁我開頭又覺得好有興趣嘅，因為佢一路講我過去嘅嘢咧係非常之準確嘅。咁所以之後過咗幾日之後咧，我又再去翻去揾佢啦。
I was also interested in the lady herself, and we moved in together, and then my wisdom and my learning of tarot started. I just picked up deck up and got to know it very quickly, and then I started doing readings within a year.
咁當然啦，除咗對呢個塔羅牌當時好有興趣咧，我對呢一位靈媒睇塔羅牌嘅呢位女士亦都非常有興趣。咁冇幾耐咧，我哋就住埋一齊啦。咁因為佢嘅工作係一個塔羅師啦，咁所以喺佢屋企入邊有好多唔同嘅塔羅牌，我就好自然咁就會攞起啲唔同嘅塔羅牌嚟睇啊。咁就係咁樣，我就開始咗呢一個行業啦。
咁嗰時係幾耐之前嘅咧？
So you're talking about how many years ago?
I started doing tarot 23 years ago. I started learning about it 23 years ago.
咁講緊係23年前我第一次接觸塔羅牌，亦都係23年前我就開始幫人睇塔羅牌啦。
咁其實都想問翻，咁佢之前係即係阿 David 之前係做咩工作嘅咧？
So now we're curious. Before that, what did you do before for a living?
Before I started tarot, I was in the British Army for 27 years.
其實我做塔羅之前咧有一個好唔同嘅職業，就係我喺呢個英國嘅從事即係軍人嘅行業，就係已經有20幾年嘅啦。
哇！咁其實如果聽翻即係一個軍人同埋即係一個睇塔羅牌係完全係即係兩個唔同世界嘅工作，即係唔同嘅工作啦。咁其實喺嗰個塔羅牌嘅過程，即係佢去睇嘅時候，究竟發生咗啲咩事，令到即係佢覺得我都係即係想轉行咁樣。
So you're talking about two extremely different fields. in profession. That we're curious that what makes you to decide to change to be a tarot reader.
Okay, there was no design about it at all. It was a consequence of actions, a consequence of destiny. I was looking for a new path in life, and this lady gave it to me, both in terms of an emotional relationship and in terms of a new career. I just fell into it.
其實嗰個過程我唔係話特別去揀要做呢個行業，成件事係一連串嘅事嘅發生，同埋係命運嘅一個好自然嘅一個一樣接一樣咁嘅發生，就令我接觸到呢一位女士，而跟住我就好自然就做咗呢個行業噶啦。
咁如果睇翻即係塔羅牌啦，咁佢喺23年前開始學，跟住之後幫人睇，咁中間即係其實個時間都幾長嘅。咁佢係咪嗰陣時一學嘅時候就已經覺得，咦呢一樣嘢係嚟緊我即係之後嘅日子都會係做呢一個工作嘅咧
？Now we see 23 years of reading tarot is quite a long period of time. Very experienced reader. And so the first time you pick up the deck, when you learn how to read tarot, did you have a feeling that this is going to be your lifetime career?
No, not at all. No, it was just an interest. I just thought, oh, this is nice. What the lady did for me has got me interested in it, and I picked up a pack of cards in her house and looked at them, and I realised I understood what they meant. So it became fairly easy for me.
其實我都冇諗過係咪話終身嘅事業，呢個我完全唔係我諗嘅嘢。咁只不過當時嗰位女士幫我睇咗塔羅牌，令我好有興趣對於塔羅。咁跟住去到佢屋企我就見到有塔羅牌，我就攞起嚟睇。咁好自然地我就發現，咦原來我係明嗰啲塔羅牌講緊乜嘢嘅喎。咁好自然地跟住我就開始睇塔羅牌啦。
咁喺睇嘅過程去到即係而家啦，咁有冇一啲特別嘅嘢？譬如佢幫人去做 reading 嘅時候，咁又或者佢喺個過程裡面有冇一啲事係令到佢特別係深刻，係令到佢可能有好大嘅轉變啊，或者一啲即係好似人哋講話即係覺醒啊咁樣嘅經驗啊
？Now let's get deeper into your experience. In the 23 years of card reading life, is there anything, any occasion or any reader that clients that give you a very strong impression or very special, very memorable experience so far, and could possibly take you to some sort of realization or transformation?
Many people who have impressed me, have infected me over the years. One especially was a lady who had very serious, her body was riddled with cancer, and she wanted to know not when she was going to die, but what her future was, where she was going to be when she died, and that made a difference.
其實有好多人都令我好深印象，都好特別。咁其中有位女士咧，佢當時嚟見我嘅時候，佢係有癌病。咁佢嚟到唔係問我幾時會死，只不過佢想知道究竟我嘅將來係點樣樣。咁喺嗰件事情上面，喺嗰一個客人嘅呢一次嘅讀牌係令我有好大嘅深刻印象。
咁即係嗰次就係覺得好似令佢覺得係嗰個女士即係就嚟會死。
So how does it impress you for that reading? Like because you felt she's going to leave, or?
It made an impression because she knew that her time was limited, but she still wanted to know where she was going within that period of time, what was going to happen to her, and also what was going to happen to her when she died. That's what she wanted to know as well, which, as I was doing the reading for her, it became clear that she was going to a different place, a lighter place, a better place, heaven, if you like, I suppose.
咁其實令到我好有印象嘅係，因為雖然佢已經自己心裏有數，即係嚟緊日子唔係剩翻好多，但佢仍然會上嚟去做一個睇呢個塔羅牌，就係睇下剩翻個短短嘅時間入邊，佢究竟佢嘅將來仲有啲乜嘢會發生，方向係點樣？咁係好珍惜嗰一段時間，同埋佢亦都想知道，即係佢嘅將來，即係就算如果佢離開咗呢個世界之後係點樣？咁喺呢一個讀牌嘅經驗入邊咧，我睇到佢好明顯，佢將會去到一個唔同嘅世界，而嗰個世界係會更加係你可以話係更加輕鬆、更加開心嘅嚇，更加有光芒。咁呢一個係可以睇得到喺嗰個讀牌嘅過程。咁同埋佢都係我就睇到佢嗰個態度令我覺得好有感觸，咁所以即係你話嗰個地方係咩地方？咁只係一個更加好嘅地方，呢個可以睇得到。咁或者有啲人會稱之為一個天堂咁樣。
咁會唔會試過咧？即係佢David 會唔會試過即係睇牌？咁但係發覺睇到一啲事其實係即係有啲人成日都講話，唔好睇將來咁，因為即係將來係自己 create。咁會唔會佢睇咗一啲好似覺得好似唔係幾好嘅嘢，咁又好似唔知點樣去同人講？有冇啲情況發生過咧
？Now the tricky part is, have you ever in the reading that you encounter that you know that something not quite good will be happening to that person, that you pick it up? Then how can you interpret or transfer that information to that client?
You transfer it very subtly. The need is to do it in a way which is kind, because everything that happens to us happens for a reason. And we do need to know things are going to happen, but we don't need to be told bluntly that something horrible is going to happen.
其實每件事發生都會有佢嘅原因嘅。咁當然啦，你要作為一個睇牌嘅人，你唔能夠好粗暴咁樣就好直接就好冇人情味咁就講咗你會點樣點樣點樣噶啦。咁你要好你當然要講，但係你會好低調咁去帶嗰個信息出嚟。咁但係因為基於所有嘅事發生有佢嘅原因啦，所以我諗嗰個係一個技巧喺度嘅。
Sometimes what I see can be a warning that can be avoided. For instance, if you warn someone to be careful when they're traveling, when they're walking, then they will be careful. So they might avoid an accident, for instance, which could have happened.
有啲情況咧，其實可以避免嘅。打個比喻，如果係你睇到嗰人行緊，你又見到佢將會有意外發生，咁你係可以提出一個提示或者警告。咁呢啲係可以避免一啲不必要或者唔一定要發生嘅事情。咁當然就會提出呢一個警告啦。
Sometimes, not often, but sometimes you see death in the cards. But it doesn't always mean a literal death. It could be an ending to something, which means the ending of one phase of life. So we can't ever say that somebody is going to get seriously ill or die, because it might mean something else. It might interpret it another way.
咁亦都有陣時咧會抽到一張叫死亡嘅嗰張卡嘅，咁但係嗰張卡即係唔係經常會出現，就算出現嘅時候，亦都唔一定係代表真正嘅死亡嘅。咁所以呢張卡其實有陣時亦會代表係一個過程或者一個階段嘅完結。咁喺呢情況之下，亦都要根據嗰個塔羅師嘅經驗去睇下嗰個喺嗰個情況係點樣解釋啦。
People come for readings mostly for one reason, that they have problems in their life. So what we try to do is to show them ways through the problems, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that there is life after where they are at the moment. It's going to get better. There's always going to be a better way ahead.
其實每一個嚟睇塔羅牌嘅人，大部分佢哋都係生命有啲困難或者有啲障礙，佢哋想有一個意見或者有個幫助，咁所以好需要話俾佢哋知道，亦都好多時候都會睇到，就係其實喺佢過咗而家呢個困難嘅階段嘅時候，將會有更加多喺佢前面，通常都係更加好嘅，咁都會有唔同嘅生命，每樣嘢都係即係一個階段。
I always feel that when people come to me for readings, I am there to help them to see the future, to see where they're going to. and to give them a more positive view of where they're going to. And like I say, when people come to me, they have problems, and I can't solve the problems, but I can show them ways out of them.
咁好多時候啲人嚟到好，正如我頭先講啦，佢可能本身生命有一啲困難啊問題，咁我哋唔係去逃避嗰個問題嘅，我哋睇到嘅話要話俾佢哋聽，或者喺個牌度睇到有啲乜嘢係超越過佢而家本身嘅問題嘅，令到佢睇到一個更加大、更加宏觀嘅一個圖案，而從而去睇到佢後面嘅路係點樣行，或者點樣去過去呢一個挑戰嘅階段。
咁我想問下咧，即係因為其實我就俾阿 David 做過 tarot card 啦，咁我覺得哇，佢點解可以即係 read 到，可以睇到咁多嘅細緻嘅嘢咧？咁我想知道啦嚇，即係 David 其實佢點樣係感覺到或者感應到嗰啲事情或者嗰啲能量，或者喺牌嗰度，其實佢點樣可以 read 得咁多嘢出嚟咧
？Now, Shirley has experienced your reading. She finds it your reading is very informative. You can go into a lot of information and really into details. So she's curious that how can you pick up those information from the cards, or is it from your intuition, or how do you get in touch with all these details?
When I first started to do tarot readings, you look at the cards and the cards tell you a story. So you start by telling people a story based on what the cards were in front of you at the time.
我一開始嘅時候咧，睇塔羅牌咧，就係其實每一張牌嗰度入邊講緊都係一個故事嚟嘅。咁所以一開始嘅時候，我就係基於出嚟嘅牌係一個乜嘢嘅故事，我就開始去演繹。去講翻嗰一個故事俾個當事人聽。
As time went on, I realised that I was using the interpretation of the cards less and less, and was just relying on my feelings. Whatever was coming through to me, I would tell the client in front of me what I felt, what was coming. I still use the cards in readings, but more as a trigger, to trigger the information that's coming through. The information is important, so it has to be done or put across in a way which the client will understand.
咁當一路我繼續去做呢個工作嘅時候，我發現咧，我慢慢咧去依賴或者係集中去睇嗰張卡嗰個解釋嘅情況越嚟越少，反而我會更加多咧係去用自己嘅感覺，就係每一次當我揭開一副牌嘅時候，或者個客人抽到啲牌嘅時候，我都會有一啲好唔同嘅感覺會嚟到俾我，我就會知道其實有啲乜嘢信息，或者有啲咩我要講俾呢一個對面嘅呢一個人聽。咁當然啦，每張牌佢係有佢嘅解釋同意思，咁呢個都係重要嘅部分，都唔能夠漏，都一定要能夠講得到俾個客人聽。但係個重點係因為唔同牌即係都有唔同嘅演繹方法，咁就係我點樣去整合我自己得到嘅嗰個靈感同埋個牌嗰個意思，去將個信息講翻俾嗰個客人聽。
好啦，咁我哋即係講咗咁耐啦，咁我哋都想知道咧，即係有啲人可能真係唔知塔羅牌係咩嚟噶嘛，咁我哋都想睇下即係David 可以即係簡單講下塔羅牌係我知道嘅咧，就好似會分大牌細牌咁樣樣嘅，咁其實嗰個意思係啲咩咧
？Now, some people they are listening to the program may have no idea what tarot card is about. So, well, I have an idea there is major arcana and minor, and actually, what tarot card is all about? What are they?
Okay, tarot cards were introduced initially into Europe in the 15th century, into Italy, in fact, by gypsies. It was a game. A tarot game called tarocchi.
最初咧，其實塔羅牌咧係喺15世紀嘅時候咧，就喺歐洲嗰邊咧引入咗去到意大利呢個地方嘅。咁當時嚟講係入邊佢哋啲人玩呢副牌咧，就係一個遊戲嚟嘅。咁就叫做塔羅棋嘅一個遊戲 tarot咭。
the gypsies, who I always feel were part of the Egyptian movement. The consequence of gypsies, Egyptian, it's much the same sort of word.
咁而引入嚟嗰班人咧，玩嗰班咧係一啲吉卜賽人。當時佢哋吉卜賽人其實係一啲屬於埃及嘅一啲即係離開咗埃及嘅一啲流浪嘅民族。
They also use the cards for predictions, divining, and telling the future.
呢啲吉卜賽人亦都同時咧用呢啲卡咧係做占卜，睇睇將來會係點樣樣。
The tarot deck consists of 78 cards, 22 of which are the major arcana, and the other is divided to 4 suits, which are called the minor arcana.
其實一副塔羅牌咧係總共有78張卡嘅，咁當中咧主牌我哋所謂正牌主牌咧就係有22張。咁，其餘嗰啲咧剩落嚟嘅，我哋所謂就係副牌，就分開做4組嘅。
The major arcana is the more important and also relates to a journey of the soul from before birth to after death, and it can be used as a meditation tool as well.
咁最主要重要嘅咧就係個主牌嗰22隻。其實嗰主牌22隻咧講緊係關於一個人一個靈魂佢嘅旅程。講緊由佢未出世去到佢死亡嗰個一個旅程嘅故事嚟嘅，咁亦都呢副主牌咧可以當做一個冥想嘅一個工具。
The minor arcana is divided into 4 suits of cups and wands and pentacles and swords.
副牌分做4組咧，就包括係邊4組咧？係有呢個金錢啦。咁另外就係有杯啦，所謂聖杯啦，仲有嘅就係劍啦，同埋另外一個咧就係係啦木係嗰個棍啊，即係叫做係啦一支
木嘅棍咁樣，但係我哋通常叫係木杖，類似咁樣啦。
係啦。
OK。
The existing tarot now is consistent of 78 cards, and it's still used as 78 cards. However, playing cards which you use these days, which are ones which you normally play Pontoon and all the other card games, were actually derived from tarot cards. There are 4 suits in the normal playing card deck, and they are related completely to the tarot. The only major arcana left is the Joker, which is the Fool in the tarot cards, and there are 4 court cards in the tarot, but there are only 3 in the playing cards, so they've reduced that as well. But that's where the playing cards come from.
其實而家今時今日嘅塔羅牌咧，我哋頭先講過啦，總共有78隻，而主牌22隻，另其餘嗰分做4組啦。同另外我哋今時今日大家好熟悉嘅玩嘅啤牌咧，其實係有個淵源嘅，因為當初我哋頭先提過喺歷史上，意大利人係用呢啲牌我嚟做玩遊戲嘅。咁而我哋今日玩緊嘅啤牌咧，大家見到都係有4組，即係有分為葵扇啊、紅心啊、等等嘅4組，其實都係源自於塔羅牌嘅，只不過佢哋只係攞咗塔羅牌嘅嗰啲副牌嗰4組。而主牌佢哋只係攞咗其中一隻牌，剩翻落嚟嘅就係嗰個我哋所謂嘅小丑，副啤牌入邊嘅小丑，其實就係塔羅牌主牌入邊嘅第一隻牌即係嗰個愚者、愚人嗰一隻牌嚟嘅。咁另外仲有遺留都有引申落到去用緊嘅就係另外我哋啤牌玩緊嘅皇帝啊、皇后啊嗰啲啦，咁都係喺塔羅牌入邊個副牌入邊都有呢一啲嘅牌嘅。
The 78 cards are always the same in all tarot decks, but there are many types of tarot decks.
唔同嘅塔羅牌喺坊間咧都一樣，雖然佢哋設計啊有唔同，但係一樣係呢78隻牌。
Each card has a picture on it, an image on it.
每張牌上面咧都有一個圖案嘅。
For instance, the chariot, card number 7 in the major arcana, shows a chariot, which means travel.
譬如主牌入邊第7隻牌呢個戰車個牌咧，代表緊嘅就係旅程或者係去旅遊咁樣啦。
咁頭先講到即係主牌啦，咁副牌咧，副牌即係頭先講話分四組唔同嘅副牌，咁主牌就係代表即係靈魂嘅旅程啦，咁副牌有冇話即係特別係代表啲乜嘢嘢？
No, you mentioned the major arcana means the soul journey. Now, is there any meaning of the minor arcana?
It sort of fills the gaps in the major arcana. The major arcana, when you lay down the cards, are the more important cards. The minor arcana back up more or less what the major arcana is saying, but they are important in their own right.
副牌其實係作為補充主牌出咗嚟，剩翻嗰啲一啲詳細情況啊，或者一啲啲 details 嘅。咁但係唔代表佢哋係比主牌唔重要，佢哋各有各佢哋自己嘅位置。
OK， 咁我亦都知道啦，即係我都有玩下牌咁樣啦嚇，咁我都想問下咧，即係牌陣呢一樣嘢嘅，咁即係如果聽眾唔識塔羅牌啦，咁我即係講少少。咁牌陣就係等於你即係好似你開一隻牌或者3隻牌咁，都有佢嘅一啲嘅原因。譬如一隻牌你睇下而家個 meaning 係啲乜；3隻牌可以睇之前、而家、將來。咁我想問下 David 咧，佢會用咩牌陣咧？或者即係對於佢嚟講，牌陣其實頭先聽佢講，佢係即係用好多佢自己感覺上去 read 嗰個能量。其實牌陣對於佢嚟講重唔重要咧
？Now, aside from the decks itself, let's talk about the spread. How important for you to do the spread? Like, and what kind of spread you use? How does it impact your reading? Like, how does it bring in the energy, or how does it work together?
There are many, many different types of spread. People who do this professionally generally improvise their own spread of tarot cards.
嗰啲牌陣咧，其實有好多唔同牌法嘅。咁當真係做呢啲行業做為專業嘅時候咧，好多時候佢哋都會有佢哋自己個人嘅牌法。
Apart from the Celtic cross, which is probably the most common spread, and there are many others. I use a derivative of the Golden Dawn spread, which is 3 layers of cards.
除咗 Celtic
cross
呢一個即係中間會有個十字架咁樣嘅一個最普遍、最多人用嘅一個牌陣之外咧，David 自己會用另一種佢自己嘅牌法。咁佢自己嗰個牌法嘅叫做金色黎明嘅一個牌法，係講緊係有3層嘅牌嘅。
When I started doing tarot readings, I used a Celtic cross to start with, and then I developed the Golden Dawn spread, which was a layer of 15 cards. Then I piled another layer on top of that, and then eventually another layer on top of that, and I added more cards to it as I went along. And this is what most people do. They change a spread and make it their own. They make it more individual to themselves.
咁當初一開始睇牌嘅時候咧，我咧就係用呢一個嗰個十字牌法啦。咁久而久之，慢慢咧我就用咗一個叫做金門嘅一個，總之係佢自己嘅一個牌法啦。咁講緊嘅牌法就係第一陣咧，每一陣係有15張牌嘅。咁然後佢會排咗第一層之後，再喺上面擺多15張，第二層再擺多15張，第三層。咁3層之後剩翻仲有牌，佢都會再擺埋落去。咁呢一個就好普遍，就係一般喺呢個行業比較有經驗同埋專業嘅人都會慢慢出現佢哋自己嘅一個牌法、一個牌陣。
OK， 咁我哋嗱，因為而家都差唔多半個鐘，我哋可以休息一陣，下一轉再嚟講。好啦，咁我哋嚟到第2節啦。咁頭先David都 share 咗好多關於牌嘅意思啦，一啲關於佢嘅資料啦。咁我而家都即仲有個問題想問翻就係，其實佢喺幫人睇塔羅牌呢20幾年啦，其實佢自己心裏面會唔會有一啲覺得 有啲 purpose， 即係會唔會有啲目的覺得我其實真係想用呢個工具去幫人啊，或者會唔會覺得係想即係俾一啲好嘅意見，即係有冇一啲目的應該講目標喺度嘅咧
？Now, do you have any purpose or mission or goals, whatever you call it, for you to read cards for others as a tarot reader?
My mission is to help people to understand their lives and where they're going to in it. And as I said before, the people that come to me have difficulties with their lives. They need guidance. They need to find a future for themselves, and I try to help them find a positive future for themselves.
咁其實正如我頭先講啦，嚟揾我嘅人多數佢嘅生命經歷緊一啲困難，咁或者係挑戰，咁所以咧，我會佢哋需要通常喺呢個時候一啲指引啊方向咁，好多時佢哋嚟到咧，其實我去做嘅就係我嘅目的。如果你話我有咧，就係去幫佢哋去睇到佢前面嘅一個方向，同埋可以更加清晰佢哋可以點樣去揀。咁所以個過程就係佢哋嚟到，我盡我能力就係去幫助佢哋睇到佢哋嚟緊嘅方向點走，從而可以就算佢哋而家幾困難都好啦，揾到一個最正面嘅一個出路。
咁如果其實我都想問下啦，即係阿 David 咧，就係其實佢信唔信宿命嘅咧？即係信唔信？即係佢幫人睇牌睇咁多啦，咁亦都有幫自己睇啦。咁信唔信？咦，睇到佢將來係咁，跟住就一定係咁嘅咧
？So now you read so many cards for others. Do you believe in fate? Like, is it something we call fate? That's it? That if your fate is like that and we can do anything with it? Is that part of your belief?
I believe in destiny. I believe at certain points of your life you're introduced to certain events, people. I believe we have free will. So when we get to those points, we decide what we want to do with them.
我咧就信有命運嘅，咁即係話有啲人同埋有啲事你係會需要經歷㗎啦。但同時我亦都相信係有自由意願選擇，即係話佢就算遇到某啲人同事，去到嗰一點，我相信每個人都有一個自由意願可以去選擇去點樣去經歷同埋去點樣處理嗰一件事。
I also believe that before we arrived on this earth, we chose our own destiny. We chose our own challenges, and regardless of what the challenges were, we have to deal with them. And I guess my role is to help people see those challenges and deal with them in the best way possible.
我亦都好相信呢，喺每一個人嚟到呢個世界之前，投胎之前呢，佢係有揀咗，佢有佢嘅命運，即係話佢有一啲需要經歷嘅事情係佢要去學習某一啲課題啦。咁所以我嘅工作我會做咧，就係去幫助佢哋去明白呢一樣嘢，而用到最好嘅方法去經歷同學習佢哋要經歷嘅事情。
咁如果譬如有啲即係當我係一個 client 咁樣啦嚇，咁我睇到哇，將來可能有個意外發生，有個 accident 咁樣，咁點算咧？即係會咁阿 David 會唔會話俾我聽？哇！我有個 accident 咁定係即係佢會點樣做咧
？Now let's give an example to you. If I am your client and then you read my card, you can see there is an accident coming in my near future. What would you do? Would you tell me how can you deal with it?
It wouldn't be anything specific. It would be a warning that you need to avoid doing something. Therefore, it would be involving travel or maybe something to do with diet. Maybe you're eating wrong things. It would just show that there's a need to change in some way or a need to be aware of what's going on around you. And it's happened before that somebody's come to me and I've done a reading for them and they've looked as if they're going to have an accident on the road. You just tell them to be careful. And they are careful. Therefore, they don't have the accident. And it's a bit of a situation where you tell someone to be careful, and what you tell them isn't going to happen. So when it doesn't happen, they think you didn't do the right thing in the first place.
咁打一個比喻嚇，其實 好多時候睇牌咧，又唔會話去真係好具體或者實際。我睇到你會有個意外喺架坐咩車，唔係咁樣嘅。好似話如果睇到係有個意外咧，個感覺就係有嚟緊會有啲可能會有啲類似意外嘅事情。咁如果係譬如係坐車嘅話，交通嘅話，咁可能我會睇到就話有啲嘢你要小心啦，你要注意，可能係關於交通啊等等嘅，又或者可能關於食嘢嘅，咁所以係會俾到一個方向你，而你要去注意，令到你會提醒自己，我特別會喺邊方面注意，可以避開咗某一啲未必需要經歷嘅嘢。咁我之前亦都試過，就有個客人咧係睇到佢係嚟緊會有可能會有意外，就係喺路上面嘅。咁所以我就提醒咗佢，最終咧就冇發生。咁所以有一啲嘢其實係當佢睇牌嘅時候咧，係你又唔係好知，唔係好注意嘅事，令到你因為而家知道咗啦，你有特別注意嘅時候，你就可以再重新去選擇，而可以避開一啲事情咁樣。
OK， 咁另外想問下咧，我自己都遇到過一啲塔羅牌嗰啲 reader 啦，咁佢哋講話我係會有個 spiritual guide 咁樣，跟住即係好似嗰啲叫做靈性導師，即係冇肉身嘅靈性導師咁樣去即係俾信息我，跟住再俾信息你咁樣咁。我又想問下，即係David 有冇即係會唔會自己有個譬如守護靈啊、靈性導師啊，或者係天使啊，定係其實佢自己係有淨係信即係自己嘅直覺力去讀呢啲牌咧
？Yeah, I encounter other tarot reader that they mention something like spiritual guide, or that they connect with my spiritual guide, and then I can connect with my spiritual guide to have all this message come through. So for you, David, do you believe anything like spiritual guide or spiritual teacher or an angel and for you to pick up those messages? Do you rely on them to pass the message, or you actually just believe in yourself, your own intuition?
I know that I've had in the past a spiritual guide. He was a very tall man, always dressed in black with a little beard. And he stood behind me a lot of the time. Other people saw him. I never did.
我知道咧，我之前我係有一個守護靈嘅。咁佢一個男人，好高嘅，佢就成日着黑色衫咁，有啲鬍鬚咁樣。咁唔係我見到佢，大部分有好多其他一啲靈媒啊嗰啲，佢哋見過佢，咁好多時候企喺我後邊嘅。
He spoke to me on occasion, warning me about things normally. But I've since realised that this is not something outside of me, it's a part of me.
咁佢又間唔中咧就會同我講嘢，咁有陣時可能提醒下我要小心啲乜嘢啊咁樣。咁後期咧，我發現其實佢並唔係一個外在嘅一個人，或者係一個外在嘅嘢啦。咁而係其實佢係我嘅其中一個入邊嘅其中一個部分。
My guide is my higher self, my own higher self. As a conscious being, we tend to be not always understanding exactly what we're supposed to be doing in life. So your higher self is there to guide you in that. And also in terms of my work, it's the bit my higher self is picking up the information and passing on to other people.
咁其實後尾我睇翻呢一個所謂外面嘅呢個守護靈咧，其實係我嘅一個所謂嘅high self 高我，即係我比較靈性有智慧嗰個部分。咁而我睇牌咧，亦都係我呢一個高我咧去俾呢啲信息我，同我睇到係即係啲牌嘅意思啊，等等等等咁樣。咁
We all have our own higher self.To connect with and to guide us. And if we allow it to happen, if we allow the guidance to take place, we are led through life in a much easier way, a much more fluid and flowing way.
其實我哋每一個人都有呢一個高我嘅。如果我哋可以去聯繫呢一個我哋比較 靈性有智慧嘅部分咧，咁而可以更加清楚作為一個人咧，好多時候有陣時我哋就唔係好清楚我哋條路應該點行，或者唔係好記得我哋其實可能揀咗我哋個命係要經歷啲乜嘢咁樣。咁所以喺呢時候，如果我哋能夠聯繫我哋嘅高我咧，我哋嘅生命就嚟得會更加容易、更加輕鬆，條路易行好多啦。
My higher self is the bit that helps me guide people through their difficulties in terms of my work reading tarot cards.
而我高我咧，其實都好一路係幫助我去幫人睇塔羅牌啦，亦都有幫助嗰啲嚟見我佢哋生命遇到難題嘅嗰啲人，咁佢會俾到一啲信息佢哋。
咁我想知道啦，咁David 佢即係點樣可以成日都可以即係好似即係點樣講咧，聯繫到佢嗰個高我，因為有好多人即係佢哋可能自己會有啲一啲 practice 一啲練習，譬如係冥想啊、靜心啊，或者係即係做瑜伽啊咁樣。咁David 自己有冇即係呢啲咁樣嘅練習嘅
？So how do you keep yourself constantly connect with your higher self? Now I know some people they have their own spiritual practice such as yoga or meditation. And do you have your own practice to connect with your higher self?
I do. I meditated once earlier on in my life, and I find it difficult. But what I do now is to use my work doing readings for people as a meditation. It's the bit that helps me connect with that higher self more. And it's strange because when I'm doing readings, one part of me is doing the reading and the other part can be off doing something completely different in terms of thinking, like thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner that night, for instance. So it's the flow that goes through. The higher self flows through me, giving me information to pass on to my clients at the same time another part of me is doing something else. But the meditation I have is to connect with the higher self through the readings.
我最初早期嘅時候都有嘗試去做啲靜心冥想嘅，咁但係我發覺其實好鬼難嘅對我嚟講，咁所以我後尾咧就冇做。而我用咩方法咧？就係其實我幫客人去做睇牌嘅時候咧，就係我嘅冥想嚟㗎啦。我就會喺每一次同客人睇牌嘅時候，其實係我同我嘅高我聯繫嘅時候。咁因為我都好多時候做呢個工作，咁好多時候我都係藉住呢個過程去聯繫。咁而好得意嘅就係我發現，當我幫一個客人去做緊一個睇緊牌嘅時候咧，咁嗰個信息啊，或者係嗰啲資訊咧、指引啊，都會係經過我嗰個高我咧而去講俾嗰個客人聽嘅。咁我又留意到同時間有另一部分嘅我咧係會諗緊或者做緊其他嘢。打個比喻，可能我一路咧就講緊接收緊嗰啲信息俾嗰個客人啦，但係另一部分嗰個我咧就喺度諗緊今晚食啲咩飯咁樣嘅。
喂，咁會唔會一陣間無啦啦又講咗，今晚食飯咁樣同個客講咗自己嘢咁樣？好，咁都想問下啦。咁我知道David 唔係淨係幫人做即係一對一嘅睇牌啦，咁佢都有教啦。咁佢係咪即係一開始幫人睇，佢教係咪都教咗成20幾年咧
？So I know you apart from during reading one-on-one basis, you also teach tarot workshop that you teach people how to read tarot cards. How long have you been teaching this course?
The particular course at the moment has been for 10 years. It's something which I feel is helpful to people if they're interested. It's helpful to understand the meaning of the cards. It's helpful for them to realize that there is perhaps something a little more out there than you normally deal with in day-to-day life. So dealing with tarot shows a higher side.
我都教咗，而家我教緊嗰個課程，我都教咗成10年㗎啦。我發覺教呢一個課程咧，教人點睇塔羅牌咧，除咗即係有啲人係有興趣想知道塔羅牌嘅意思之外咧，另外就係即係可以幫助一個人咧去經過學習點睇塔羅牌咧，就去聯繫佢哋自己嗰個我哋頭先所講嘅高我。
咁佢教嘅時候即係 因為坊間啦，咁我都知道啦，好多人教就係，即係可能係知道嗰牌嘅意思啦，咁跟住就即係要背咗個牌嘅意思，有正牌反牌咁樣。咁其實佢係咪都係即係會咁樣去教，定係佢會唔會有自己獨特嘅一套去教啊
？Now we know there's many people, many tarot teachers in the market. The way they teach it is like to remember the meaning of each cards, and also to understand the like upside down and how to read it, stuff like that. So how about you? Do you have your own style in your teaching?
I use an imaging teaching method. I use the Rider-Waite cards for teaching, which are very visual. Each card has a picture which has a very clear, generally very clear meaning, and I teach the meaning of the picture rather than the meaning of the card.
我用嗰個方法咧係屬於一個形象圖案嘅一個教導方法嘅。咩意思咧？就係因為頭先講過，每張卡係有一個圖畫喺上面嘅。咁而我用嗰副塔羅牌咧，我係用嗰個 Rider-Waite。嘅即係其中坊間都好普遍用緊嘅一套牌，而嗰套牌咧基本上係好清晰，你睇到嗰個圖畫係啲乜嘢嚟嘅。咁而我做嘅嘢就係話教佢哋明白嗰個圖畫上面嘅係乜嘢嘅意思，做緊啲乜嘢。
I think it's much easier. We have a saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if people understand what the picture on the card is, they don't have to remember the words. They just make a story up out of that picture when they see that card.
咁我就好相信咧，即係呢個講法就係一幅圖案就勝過千言萬語。咁所以如果佢哋能夠明白嗰張卡嗰個圖案係講緊係乜嘢事咧，或者咩意思，或者其實嗰度係一個咩故事發生緊咧，佢哋就可以好容易咧。就唔需要死記嗰張卡咩意思咁樣背，而係佢一望到張卡個圖案，佢就知道係基於嗰個故事或者嗰個圖案嘅意思，而佢哋可以出到一啲解法出嚟。
咁但係如果譬如有啲朋友有興趣，咁但係可能佢哋即係冇信心咁。咁如果佢教法係話，你淨係用你嗰個圖像望住張牌去講個牌意，咁佢哋譬如點知道係咪啱咧？即係點知道究竟佢 read 嘅嘢係咪準咧？如果唔係跟嗰個即係牌個意思嘅話。
So if they some new reader, the student, they're not very confident in the interpretation of the cards. For example, if they understood the meaning of the picture, not the precise exact meaning of the card itself. So let's say they pick up something and they say like this is what the card means. How could they be sure and confident that this is exactly what this card for this client means?
Firstly, you can never be sure or confident. You trust your intuition. You trust in what you feel. All cards have a basic meaning because you just look at it and you see it has a basic meaning. For instance, the Ten of Swords, which is a fairly difficult card, shows a picture of a man lying face down with 10 swords in his back. Very difficult image. But in the background, the dawn is breaking. So what it's saying is, okay, this is a difficult period, but things are just about to get better. Different interpretation of the same card.
所以其實睇牌唔會即係好一個忠告咧。David 就話你唔會永遠係有機會係你100%肯定完全100%知道呢個牌就一定係咁解。你必須要相信你自己嘅直覺同埋你嘅感覺。咁你嘅直覺話俾你聽，呢張牌喺呢一個今次對住呢個客人係咁樣解，你就要去相信你自己嘅直覺啦。咁係我諗係累積翻嚟啦呢個信心。咁打一個比喻，譬如有張牌係呢張第10張嘅劍嗰張牌啦。咁其實佢係有張牌上面見到一個男人耷低頭，即係個面向住地下，而後面有10 把劍喺度嘅。咁其實一張幾困難嘅一張牌嚟嘅。咁但係當然頭先之前講過，就係每一張牌有一個最基本嘅意思解釋嘅。咁但係你望住呢個時候，你睇到可能好難解，但係其實你再留意佢後面係有其他嘢係令到你講緊知道佢雖然而家可能面對一個好困難嘅階段，但係有出路，係有更加好嘅事情喺後邊。
OK， 咁所以其實即係阿 David 會教嗰個塔羅牌就係都係會順翻自己嗰個直覺力去睇咁樣嘅。OK， 咁另外都想問下啦，其實都要幫人睇咁多啦，咁會唔會都有啲自己喺一啲人生交叉點嘅時候咧，咁自己都會即係攞嚟睇下而家自己嗰個情況係點樣啊？會唔會幫自己去睇嘅
？Now you read many cards for others. Will you do that for yourself? Like whenever there's time that you come across some confusion or not sure about what to do next, would you do a spread for yourself?
Yes, I do occasionally. It's a very difficult thing to do because you're too connected. You're looking at the wrong way. How I do it, if I do it for myself, is to imagine I'm doing it for someone else.
我都有幫自己做間唔中，咁但係其實呢個係一個非常困難嘅事情，因為你好主觀啦，成件事你同嗰件事同當事人係太過緊密啦，咁所以嗰個巧妙嘅方法，而 David 用嘅方法就係去打開副牌嘅時候，佢成件事就當幫另外對面一個人去睇緊咁樣嚟去睇副牌，咁就有個抽離嘅客觀啦。
咁佢有冇即係一路呢段即係咁多年裏面咧，咁佢自己幫自己睇啊，或者係幫啲人睇，有冇試過即係幫人睇嘅時候，發覺同人睇嘅嘢好似同自己差唔多咁樣？有冇試過啲咁樣經歷啊
？Okay, so do you have this experience that you reading for others and for yourself is kind of similar?
It has to be. You cannot be too attached to what you're doing when you're doing your own reading. When I do my readings for people, I talk, obviously. I record it, and I send it to them or give it to them. When I do readings for myself, I do exactly the same thing. I just talk. I just talk about what I see in front of me, what I feel, and I record it. And I don't listen to it when I'm talking. I play it back and listen to it afterwards.
其實一樣嘅。我幫人哋睇嘅時候咧，就我會講嘢啦，咁然後跟住我會錄低喺隻碟，咁然後佢哋就會翻去再聽啦。咁而我幫自己睇牌嘅時候一模一樣，我就會講嘢啦，然後錄低佢啦，咁然後我會之後再聽翻咁樣去做法。
咁會唔會好得意咧？即係自己幫自己即係 read 嘅時候，會唔會即係可能講嗰陣時就唔為意，一聽翻之後，哇！咦，原來咁樣喎！即係會唔會有啲咁樣，即係好似好神奇、好特別嗰啲感覺啊
？Wow! So when you listen back to your own recording for yourself, do you feel like this is kind of interesting or special or mystical because you kind of like, oh, is it happening for me or like that kind of feeling?
Yes, it is actually. It's when I'm doing the readings for other people, I kind of don't listen too much what I'm saying. I just say it. When I'm doing the same thing for myself, I don't listen at all what I'm saying. I just say it. So when I listen back, it's generally a surprise.
咁David 就話咧，幫人哋睇牌嘅時候，當然啦就係錄咗，我都唔多點聽我講緊啲咩。總之佢有咩就係咁講，係咁講啦嚇。咁但係同自己嘅時候咧，其實都係一樣嘅。我都係唔好聽，究竟一路講嘅時候咧，我唔好理我講緊啲乜嘢，亦都唔會好急要聽下我究竟我而家只講啲咩咧，會發生啲咩事咧。反而係所以之後我再聽翻嘅時候咧，我都有時會覺得好奇怪啊，或者係咦咁樣嘅咩咁。
OK， 咁我頭先想啱啱諗起咧，就係想問翻轉頭就係佢如果 David 教塔羅牌啦。咁通常佢係會係即係教幾耐嘅咧
？So if you teach tarot card workshop, how long is the course? How long is the whole workshop?
The workshop takes 4 to 5 hours. It is quite intense. You have to learn the meanings, or not learn the meanings, but see the meanings of 78 different cards. The minor arcana does not take too long. It's the major arcana, it's more the complicated one. But people at the end of the course have a very good idea of how to read the cards and how to do readings. And before the end of the course, we do practice, and they can practice on each other, and generally find that what they do is very accurate.
咁我呢個工作坊教塔羅牌，即係學點睇塔羅牌咧，嗰個係4-5個鐘度嘅。咁但係一個非常之緊密嘅課程嚟嘅，因為當中咧，首先你哋要學識點樣去睇晒78張牌啦，包括22張主牌同埋嗰啲副牌。副牌嗰部分咧嚟得簡單，反而係主牌嗰度就係即係稍為複雜，就要去真係認真要明白每一張，都唔係話學個意思點解，而係去明白嗰張圖畫嗰個意思點解。咁之後就會終結之前咧，就會大家會開始練習啦。嗰個亦都好重要課程，不停練習。咁我喺我經驗睇到咧，大部分嘅人都冇問題去理解點樣解釋，同埋佢哋練習嘅時候，好多時候都相當準確嘅。
咁但係譬如頭先聽講話4至5個鐘，好似會好短時間咁犀利，可以仲要即係學員仲會係即係會準確。咁其實會唔會David 都會即係 suggest 之後再 practice 啊，或者會唔會即係有一啲更加進階班咁樣再去練習咁樣嘅咧
？That's pretty amazing to hear that one can learn how to read tarot cards and be accurate within 4 to 5 hours. So do you actually recommend people to continue practice like for how many hours, or do you have any advanced workshop for those who want to advance or continue?
I do. The basic course just gives people a grounding. Once they've done that, they practice for themselves with their friends and families. When they get more proficient at it, we can take them a little further. It's a more broader range. It goes more through the major arcana, the journey of the soul through the major arcana. It gives everybody a chance to understand more about the deeper meanings of the tarot.
So you mean like in the advanced course you actually go through the major arcana again?
We go through the whole thing again, but in a deeper way. The major arcana is the most difficult cards to understand. So we go through that more and teach people more about that. But it's combinations of cards that becomes more important on the advanced course. It's dealing with combinations of cards, not just individual cards.
咁David 原來咧，除咗呢個4-5個鐘頭嘅基本課程之外咧，佢係有一個進階班嘅。咁進階班入邊咧，佢會再一次去同啲學生一齊去睇翻嗰啲牌，每張牌。但係咧，最主要咧會擺多啲時間去睇多次嗰個主牌，因為主牌其實有更深層嘅意思嘅。所以基本班嗰時只係最基本一個理解係每一張卡嘅基本嘅意思。咁當去到進階班咧，就會去真係深層去理解每張卡嗰個深入嘅一啲其他嘅意思，嗰層嘅意思啦。咁同埋唔單止係每一張卡獨立嘅，佢每一張卡嘅意思，仲要係個組合嘅時候，唔同嘅組合嘅卡係點樣去解法等等。
咁除咗即係呢一個基本同埋進階班啦，咁David有冇即係仲有冇教其他 workshop 嘅？除咗呢係啦，即係呢兩個之外。
So apart from the basic and advanced tarot card workshop, do you also teach other workshops?
I teach 2 other workshops. One is connecting with your spiritual guide, which leads people through a deep guided meditation to connect with their guide. Everybody I've done the workshop for has made that connection. It is one of the workshops which I feel is very valuable for people, because if they want to know who their guide is, they'll eventually meet them and be able to discuss or talk to them, at least communicate.
咁我有教另外2個工作坊添嘅。咁第一個咧就係叫做與你嘅靈守護靈溝通，connect with your spiritual guide， 與你嘅守護靈溝通。咁呢個係我會引導帶住去進入一個好深層嘅一個冥想嘅。咁喺呢個好深層冥想時候咧，就會可以有機會俾每一個參與者咧，同佢哋自己嘅守護靈咧，去有個溝通睇下見下佢啊，傾下偈啊，問下佢問題等等等等。咁過往嘅經驗話俾我聽咧，所有參與嘅人咧都有機會可以溝通到同接觸到佢哋嘅守護靈嘅。咁而我自己覺得呢一個係一個好有價值嘅一個工作坊嚟嘅。
I also do another workshop called Beyond Illusions, which takes people from the basics of knowing themselves, their good points and bad points, to connecting with a higher self, to connecting with God, and becoming one with the Creator.
咁另一個我教嘅工作坊呢，就叫做超越幻象。咁咧係啦 ，Beyond Illusion 超越幻象。咁點樣超越你呢個幻象咧？就係佢哋同一樣係即係會去喺個入邊了解自己嘅好嘅地方、強項或者弱項啦。咁亦都係去接觸佢哋嗰個守護靈啊、高我啊咁樣。咁主要就係咁樣係啦。
咁即係話 total 就會有4個 workshop， 即係一個係basic 啦，一個係即係一個基本啦，一個進階啦，跟住一個咧就係與守護靈聯繫啦，跟住另外一個就係超越幻象，好犀利啊個名。OK， 咁我諗我哋時間都差唔多啦，咁今日多謝阿 David 嚟做我哋嘉賓，亦都多謝阿 Karen 做我哋嘅翻譯師，係啦。
Thank you, David, for coming along as our guest today.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
好，咁如果大家對 David 係即係有興趣想揾佢做即係塔羅牌嘅諮詢嘅話咧，咁嚟緊3月嘅時候 ，David 都會嚟我哋 House of Light 嘅中心啦，去即係幫大家去做呢一個塔羅牌嘅測讀啦，咁同埋亦都會教個工作坊嘅。咁有關資訊咧，大家可以上我哋嘅網站啦 www.houseoflight.com.hk houseoflight.com.hk 咁去睇我哋嘅資料嘅。咁今日時間差唔多啦，下一次再見。